Carl Jung discovered that empaths who endure narcissistic abuse experience 4 distinct psychological phases, and the final one terrifies narcissists more than anything else. The first stage starts with your natural empathy, which draws predators like moths to a flame. By the 4th, you become entirely immune to manipulation. But it's the second stage that breaks most empaths, and surviving it makes you unbreakable. Picture this. You're sitting alone after yet another painful encounter with someone who swore they loved you, yet systematically tore apart your sense of self. You gave everything, your energy, your boundaries, even your soul, only to be discarded like yesterday's paper. You ask yourself, how did this happen again? Jung understood this cycle deeply. He once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But for empaths, that understanding comes with a devastating cost. What Jung called a collision with a shadow happens not just within them, but also through the predatory behavior of those who exploit their light. Yet Jung made a discovery that changes everything. The empath's real gift isn't just sensitivity, it's what can be called unconscious truth detection. He noted that highly sensitive people perceive what others hide, often without realizing it. You see through facades effortlessly. You sense the pain behind someone's anger, the emptiness behind their charm. Jung wrote, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. But this gift has a dark side. Narcissists are drawn to empaths just like moths to a flame. Your light exposes their darkness, and they crave it to feel alive. Unlike the moth that dies in the fire, the narcissist tries to snuff the flame out instead. This is what I call Jung's vampire dynamic, where one person feeds off another's life force. Jung saw this as a form of psychological parasitism, though he used different terms, and empaths, with their giving nature, make the perfect targets. Jung identified recurring patterns in how predators exploit the highly sensitive. These patterns form what I call the 4 stages of empathic destruction. But understanding these stages is the key to breaking the cycle forever. Stage 1. The light trap. Jung noted that empaths are born with what he described as an overflow of libido. Not sexual energy, but pure life energy. This creates what can be called empathic magnetism. You naturally radiate warmth, acceptance, and understanding. People feel safe with you before even knowing why. As a child, you might have been the one who comforted others, who couldn't stand to see someone left out, who felt physical pain witnessing cruelty. Jung observed that such children often become the family healer, carrying everyone's emotional weight. But here lies the trap. Your light doesn't only attract good souls seeking healing. It also draws predators in search of supply. Jung wrote, where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. Narcissists thrive on pure will to power, and your love becomes their feeding ground. During this phase, the narcissist studies you. They observe how you respond to vulnerability, to sob stories, to emotional hooks, learning exactly how far you'll go before you start questioning. They're not falling in love with you. They're cataloging your weaknesses. This is what I call the reconnaissance phase of manipulation, building on Jung's insight into how predators study their targets. The predator maps your empathy like a general studying enemy terrain, discovering which emotional buttons to press to keep you giving, caring, and sacrificing. Have you ever felt like a magnet for broken people? You tell yourself, I attract what needs healing. But you don't see this as predation. It feels like being needed, being special, being the only one who truly understands. Jung warned about this illusion. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Yet in stage 1, you're becoming who they need you to be. Stage 2. The soul extraction. If stage 1 is the trap, then stage 2 is the great devouring. Jung noticed that narcissists don't just crave your love, they want to consume your entire psychic energy. This is where true psychological warfare begins. Jung wrote, the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But with narcissists, only you change, and never for the better. You shrink while they grow inflated. Jung called this projection, what I call projection bombardment. A relentless assault where the narcissist dumps all their shame, rage, and inadequacy onto you. Suddenly, you're the one who's too sensitive, too emotional, too much. They begin rewriting history, twisting every story so you're always the one at fault. But the most dangerous part of this manipulation is what I call empathic inversion. Your natural ability to feel others' emotions turns into a weapon used against you. When they rage, you feel responsible for their anger. When they pull away, guilt consumes you for their distance. When they betray you, you wonder what you did to push them away. Jung understood this as shadow projection. The narcissist cannot face their own darkness, so they cast it onto you. And because you're empathic, you absorb it as if it were your own. You begin to believe their version of reality, one where you're the broken one who needs fixing. The cruelty of the stage lies in being punished for the very qualities that make you kind. Your compassion becomes weakness. Your boundaries, selfishness. Your needs, drama. I call this the crucifixion of the authentic self, though Jung would describe it as ego dissolution under extreme psychological pressure. You start walking on eggshells, constantly scanning their moods, reshaping yourself to avoid their wrath. This is hypervigilant empathy, a state where your nervous system stays in constant overdrive, trying to predict and prevent the next explosion. Jung observed that prolonged psychological abuse leads to dissociation, what I call soul fragmentation. To survive, parts of your true self go into hiding. You lose contact with your own desires, your needs, your truth. Stage 3. The dark night of the soul. Jung wrote, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Stage 3 is that descent, your personal journey into hell. It's the total collapse of everything you thought you knew about love, about yourself, about reality. This is what I call the empathic breakdown. Your endless giving finally runs dry. Your infinite understanding reaches its limit. The excuses you've made for their cruelty crumble beneath the weight of truth. Jung called this the dark night of the soul, a necessary psychological death before rebirth. But while you're in it, it feels like dying. Jung noted a phenomenon called psychological compensation in people under extreme stress, what I refer to as acute psychological decompensation. Anxiety, depression, physical illness, complete emotional paralysis. Meanwhile, the narcissist senses your awakening and escalates the abuse. They initiate the final harvesting campaign, a cruel mix of love bombing and punishment, designed to drain the last of your empathy before you break free. Have you ever hit rock bottom and found strength there? My breakdown became my breakthrough. Jung understood what few people grasp. This collapse isn't pathology, it's psychology. It's your mind's way of forcing you to face the truth you've been avoiding. He wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." In stage 3, you face that terror. You realize you've been participating in your own destruction. You start asking the hard questions about the relationship, but also about yourself. How did I allow this? Why did I stay? What's wrong with me? Jung called these the questions of individuation, the painful but essential inquiries that lead to true wholeness. This stage often brings the confrontation with the shadow. But this time, it's not their shadow, it's your own. You must face the parts of you that allowed the abuse. Your people-pleasing, your fear of conflict, your addiction to being needed. Jung taught that healing requires taking ownership of your patterns without taking on their blame. The breakthrough comes when you realize your empathy isn't the issue. It's the absence of boundaries around it. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." The narcissist triggered you because they mirrored the part of you you abandoned, the part you sacrificed to keep them happy. Stage 4. The Phoenix Rebirth. Jung believed individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires integrating every aspect of your psyche, including the shadow. Stage 4 marks this transformation. It's when the empath achieves what I call shadow-integrated empathy, compassion fused with discernment, love fortified by boundaries. You rise from stage 3 changed at your core, not shattered, but sharpened. Not bitter, but wiser. You've developed what Jung called differentiated consciousness, the ability to feel others' emotions without absorbing them as your own. The most terrifying thing for narcissists is an empath who has completed their individuation process. You still perceive their pain, sense their emptiness, and recognize the wounded child within them, but you no longer feel the need to fix it. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. In stage 4, you choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of awareness. You finally understand that your empathy is a sacred gift to be guarded, not a resource for others to drain. You develop what I call boundaried compassion, the ability to love others without losing yourself in the process. This transformation gives rise to what Jung described as the autonomous personality, someone who operates from their inner center instead of reacting to external chaos. Narcissists can no longer trap you with guilt, drama, or manipulation because you now distinguish their emotions from your own. You've become empathically sovereign. You give from choice, not from compulsion. You help from strength, not from weakness. You love from fullness, not from emptiness. And that terrifies narcissists, because they can no longer feed on your energy. If you've reached this level of clarity, you might say, I see the game, but I don't play anymore. Of course, they'll try to drag you back, through love bombing, threats, smear campaigns, or wild accusations. But none of it works now, because you've attained what Jung called psychological independence. Your sense of self no longer relies on their approval or validation. Jung understood that true healing isn't just about escaping abuse. It's about integrating what you've learned into a more complete version of yourself. What I call post-narcissistic growth unfolds through several profound developments. First, you awaken what Jung called the transcendent function, the capacity to hold opposites in creative tension. You become both compassionate and firm, both open and protected, both trusting and discerning. This isn't contradiction, it's psychological maturity. Second, you learn to recognize what Jung termed the narcissistic constellation in others. You spot it early, the excessive charm, the self-pity, the subtle testing of boundaries, the unpredictable reinforcement. Your empathy evolves into a radar for authenticity rather than a beacon for predators. Third, you develop conscious empathy. Instead of unconsciously absorbing everyone's emotions, you choose when to tune in and when to stay anchored in your own energy. Jung described this as the art of conscious relationship. At this stage, your relationships transform completely. You start attracting people who honor your depth without exploiting it, who can meet your emotional intensity without fear, who respect your boundaries because they've learned to respect their own. Jung believed that individual transformation fuels collective healing, and when empaths complete this 4-stage evolution, they become living examples of a new way of being. This is what I call the healed empath effect. You become living proof that sensitivity doesn't mean weakness, that compassion doesn't require self-sacrifice, and that deep healing is possible even after profound psychological damage. Other empaths look at you and think, if they could do it, maybe I can too. You embody what Jung called the wounded healer, someone who turns pain into wisdom and uses that wisdom to guide others toward wholeness. But perhaps most importantly, your transformation disrupts the entire narcissistic supply chain. Every empath who completes this journey becomes one less source of energy for predators. Every boundary you hold makes it harder for narcissists to find easy prey. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When empaths claim that privilege, they don't just save themselves, they help heal the collective shadow. Jung understood that narcissistic abuse isn't random. It serves a hidden psychological purpose for both sides. The narcissist avoids their own shadow by projecting it onto the empath. The empath avoids their own power by remaining in victimhood. Here's the profound truth Jung uncovered. The abuse dynamic is a distorted mirror of individuation. Both people are seeking wholeness, but through each other rather than through their own inner work. The narcissist seeks completeness by consuming others' life force, while the empath seeks it by healing others' wounds. Both fail, because true wholeness can only arise from within. When the empath completes this 4-stage process, they shatter that unconscious contract. They stop trying to save others and focus on healing themselves. They stop giving away their power and begin reclaiming their sovereignty. This is the essence of Jung's individuation, becoming undivided within yourself. Not flawless, but whole. Not unscarred, but no longer defined by pain. Not without empathy, but no longer enslaved by it. Jung believed empaths play an evolutionary role in human consciousness. You are not merely sensitive. You are what I call consciousness accelerators. Your depth of feeling, your authentic perception, and your capacity for unconditional love propel humanity toward greater emotional and spiritual intelligence. Yet this gift comes with immense responsibility. You must learn to use your empathy consciously, not just reactively. You have to cultivate the discernment to recognize when your sensitivity is serving growth, and when it's enabling dysfunction. The four-stage journey isn't only about personal recovery. It's preparation for a higher purpose. Jung wrote, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." Awakened empaths become agents of transformation. You're here to model what healthy empathy looks like, to show that sensitivity is strength, not fragility, that love can coexist with boundaries, that compassion can have limits, and that giving can be intentional instead of compulsive. So understand this. If you're an empath who has endured narcissistic abuse, you are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not flawed. You are a highly evolved consciousness having a deeply human experience, learning to protect your most sacred gift. The four stages are not punishment. They are preparation. Each one teaches you something essential about yourself, about others, and about what real connection means. Stage 1 teaches you about your magnetism. Stage 2 teaches you about your boundaries. Stage 3 teaches you about your resilience. Stage 4 teaches you about your sovereignty. Jung dedicated his life to studying what it means to become whole, and he found that this process always demands a confrontation with the shadow, both your own and that of others. The narcissist, without knowing it, became your teacher in this evolution. And though the lessons were painful, they led you towards self-realization. If you recognize yourself in these stages, know that you're exactly where you need to be. Trust the process. Trust your intuition. And most of all, trust that your empathy, when consciously directed, will become your greatest source of strength. Carl Jung discovered that empaths who survive narcissistic abuse undergo four distinct transformations. Stage 1, the light trap, where your natural gifts draw in predators. Stage 2, the soul extraction, where they attempt to consume your essence. Stage 3, the dark night, where everything collapses so it can be rebuilt in truth. Stage 4, the Phoenix Rebirth, where you emerge unbreakable. The narcissist, ironically, delivers the greatest lesson of all, that your empathy is sacred and must be protected. They force you to develop the boundaries and discernment that now render you immune to their manipulation. Jung's message to every empath is timeless. Individuation, becoming who you truly are, isn't just possible after abuse. It's the entire purpose of it. You weren't meant to stay a victim. You were meant to awaken as a conscious creator of your reality. If you want to explore how empaths can reclaim their power and transform their relationships, watch my video, When the Empath Stops Forgiving, Every Mask Falls, where I explore the radical process of conscious forgiveness and authentic boundaries. Your journey through these four stages is not just personal healing. It's initiation into your role as a healed empath in a world that desperately needs your light. Protected, aware, empowered. Thank you for walking this path of understanding with me. See you in the next dimension of healing.